Let's look at inner join. And before we begin, let's look at the concept of how joins work. To begin with, we'll create a table, and this table we have, let's call it table A, and the table has two columns, W and X. We have another table B that we'll create shortly. In the column W, we have values 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the column X we have values A, B, C, and D. Likewise, we have a table B, and this table has columns Y and Z. The column Y has values 2, 3, 3, 4, and the column Z has values K, M, N, and P. Now, the way joins work is, the idea is that we have a primary ID column that we can use to get the matches. And for instance, in this case, let's use the column W from A, and let's use the column Y from B. Now, when we perform a join, what will happen, record by record, this one will be matched with any one that's in this particular column Y. Now, in this case, there is no 1 in Y, so this record does not match. So this ID does not match, and therefore this record won't be there in the output. Now, let's look at 2. So 2 does match with this 2, and therefore this record will be there in the output. And simultaneously, we can create the output column on the other side. So we can create a column, let's call it AB, and this column would have either, so the primary ID column, we could call it WY, or it could have been just Y or just W, and we have other two columns, which is X and Z. Of course, the 1 would not exist, but 2 did match, so we'll have a 2 here. And then for X, we have the value of B. For Z, we have the value of K. Next, moving on, let's look at 3. 3 does match here and here, so it matches two places in this particular Y column, and so the output that we would have would combine both of these. So we'll have two entries for 3. One entry would have the value, and both the entries would have the value of C in X. However, in Z, there are two different values, and we'll have those values in Z, which will be M and N. Finally, we have the value of 4, and this value of 4 does match with this value of 4 in column Y, and therefore in the output then we would have 4 in this ID column, and then we would have D in the column X and P in the column Z. So that's how the inner join would work. This is inner join. And let's try to put this particular concept at work in the query. What we have here on the left hand side is a CTE, or temporary table, that we create, which is called table A, which would be same as what we have seen here. And then we have a table B, which is right here. And then what we are going to do is we are going to perform a join operation on this. And to perform a join, let's comment this out. So let's comment, let me move this down here. Let's comment this part like so. And we can then, so let's comment this out, and then comment this out as well, and uncomment these two. Now what we are trying to do here is write the syntax where we are specifying that select star from A, which is this A. We are going to do an inner join on B, which is this B, such that A dot W, so we want to join on the column W from the table A and column Y from the table B. So that's why we have the A dot W is equal to B dot Y. And so when we look, when we run this query, so when we run this part of the query and look at the output, we should see a table that we had earlier. So as we earlier we said AB, so it's a similar table that we have where we have the column W, which has 2 3 4 2 3 3 4, and then we have the column X and column Y. So we have the column X, which has BCCD, so BCCD, and the column Y, which will be the same as W that we had earlier. So it's going to be the exact same column. And we also have the column Z, which has the values K, M, N, and P. So we have K, M, N, and P. So that's how the inner join works. Now we can look at a couple more examples to uh, understand this idea even further. Additionally, there is another way we can perform the same inner join. If the column names are the same in both the tables on which we are trying to join the two tables, we can simply specify using. So here we have inner join from A, inner join B using W, and this would be equivalent of saying A dot W is equal to B dot W. A dot W is equal to B dot W. And the change here is that this is column W, and what we can do is go ahead and change this to W. So we now have the two columns W existing in both of these tables, A and B. Now when we run this, so let's click on the table and then run this query, and let's look at the output. The output should be same as what we had before. So we have 2 3 4 as we would expect, and in the 2 3 4, let's look at how the values in those columns match. This does not exist in table B 1. So the 1 does not exist, so we do not see the value of A anywhere here in the output for X. Now the 2 does match with this 2, so we do see the value of B and K. So we do see these two values, and then this 3 matches 2 times, and therefore we have C occurring twice, and we have the values of M and N associated with it. So this M and this N. Finally, we have the value 4. It does match with this 4, and therefore we have the values D and P as we see them here. So that was a second example of inner join. Let's look at yet another example for inner join where we can have a different number of tables. So this is a table directly from the docs. Here we have a CTE, which is roster, and in that we have two columns, last name and school ID, and it has 5 records with these players. And then we have another table, player stats. Again, the similar names, some may be matching. We have a team mascot, which is this one. So now what we can do is when we are performing a join, we can join on again as we did earlier. We can, instead of saying inner join, we could also say simply join. And what we are interested in is getting the last name from the table roster. Therefore, we are saying roster dot last name, and we are interested to get this mascot from the team mascot. Therefore, we are saying the table team mascot dot mascot. And from roster, which is this very first table, we are going to perform a join. So join on team mascot, which is this one, and the join is on the column school ID. So the column school ID is common on both. So here we have a school ID column, and in this particular table we do have a school ID column. So we could have said using school ID, that would have been fine. Here we are explicitly saying that roster.school ID is equal to team mascot.school ID. Now when we try to run this query, we should see that only the columns that match if there are matching school IDs between those two tables, only those IDs or those player names should appear in the output. So we have, let's look at what are the common IDs here. Let me pull this down. We have uh, 50, so 50 does exist in here. 51 does exist, 52 does exist, 53 also exists. However, the ID 77 does not exist. So Eisenhower should not be in the output, and that's what we have. The Eisenhower is not there. Adams, Buchanan, Coolidge, and Davis, all the other four values are there in the output. And likewise, in case of the mascot, we do have the associated Jaguars, Knights, Lakers, and Mustangs in the out. Mustangs, okay, Mustangs is not there. 53, let's go back up. Yep, 53 is not there in the roster, and so therefore that last record does not exist in the output. So that's how the inner join works in BigQuery. We saw three different ways to execute it. One was using the is equal to sign. The other one was using the uh, just saying using. And the third one was instead of saying inner join, simply saying join worked as well. And finally, just a recap, what inner join does is it in the output you get only the records that have a matching ID in both the tables that you're trying to join. The IDs that do not match in the two tables, those do not exist in the output table. That was it for this video. If you have any comments or suggestions, please do let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.